Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us in another edition of our Self-Directed IRA Saturday. My name's Andrea. I'm an IRA specialist here at Quest, and I'm super excited about today's show. But how's everybody doing today? Hope you're all having a great Saturday afternoon. I had a great day yesterday. We celebrated my first Mexican Mother's Day. My son is half Mexican. I'm not Mexican. So that was quite cool. But yeah, it was a good start to my weekend. Like I said, super excited about today's show. We have Richard Wilson today talking to us about how to become billionaires. No, I'm kidding. But because who wants to be a billionaire? I know I do. But anyway, before we get started and before we bring him on, let's go ahead and go over our disclaimer. Quest Trust Company does not provide any tax, legal, or investment advice or endorse any products, services, or investments of any type. All information and materials shared here today are for educational purposes only, and all parties are always encouraged to consult their attorneys, accountants, and financial advisors before entering into any type of investment. This is really important. So let's talk quickly about what a self-directed IRA is for those of you joining us for the first time. A self-directed IRA is really like any other IRA that you can have anywhere else, but we add here a Quest. We add the term self-directed so that you know that you'll be investing in private assets only. Okay, typically custodians, your more traditional, typical custodians, the bigger ones, only allow you to invest in public funds, stocks, bonds, ETFs, all that good stuff that we are kind of familiar about. But here at Quest, if you want to be doing private investments such as real estate, actually purchasing property, or maybe joining a syndication like a private entity, cryptocurrency, promissory notes, so like lending, you have to come over to a custodian like Quest. Okay, so that's what we specialize in. That's what our bread and butter. That's what we do. If you have any questions, if you want to go over the process with one of us, one of our IRA specialists, we're happy to help you. We're happy to talk to you, answer any questions, show you kind of how it looks like, um, you know, coming over to the private side and how that all looks like it plays out. We're happy to talk to you. So scan this QR code and you can have a complimentary consultation with us. So yeah. And last but not least, we are super excited about our expo coming up in June. End of June. It's going to be our biggest and best expo that we've put out yet. We're going to have upwards of 800 people. The speakers are phenomenal. We're going to be talking about the current or um, specializing our topics in the current real estate market. So it's uh, market keeps changing, it keeps going up and down, and I think right now it's a good time to regroup and revisit those topics and how to move forward with your real estate investments. So we're going to be focusing a lot on this during our expo, and not to mention all the networking that you're going to be, that's honestly on parallel. I know I was there on the last one and it was just amazing, and not only the education but all the people, that like-minded people that you get to meet and to even partner with. So don't miss out on this promo that we have right now, 50% off with this code expo50. You'll also get free limited self-directed IRA accounts, so it's a great time to do it. But let's bring up our speaker of today, Mr. Richard Wilson. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for having me
being
here.
here.
Appreciate it.
Yes, go ahead and take it away, please. We're excited about your topic.
Awesome.
Your
Great.
class.
So my name is Richard C. Wilson. I started my investor club in 2007. And we're really a community more than anything else. We've met in person and hosted over 275 live events. We actually got done this week in New York City. We hosted a 3-day event with about 750 people there. We had 125 speakers on stage, and we do little mastermind events. And our main website is investorclub.com. And what we found is that investors like connecting with each other, they like learning, they like identifying new investment opportunities. But really, before putting money in something, it's really nice to meet people in person. It's really good to get to know people over time and see familiar faces. It's good to see what your peers are doing, what they're allocating to, how they're conducting due diligence, always getting smarter. We use our investor club events to train next generation family members. You can bring a spouse, you can bring a son or daughter. If you have a formalized family office, great. You could bring a team member. But many times it's a family member or somebody who's helping you with placing your capital that come to our events. And we try to really build a friendly, nice community of people. So, been doing this for 17 years. And about 5 years in, we started thinking, who are the best people to learn from? And we thought, okay, well, people who have built and sold a business, people that have really figured out their investment processes. And the real big winners in capitalism are centimillionaires and billionaires. They not only figured out how to be successful, but figured out how to scale something massively and be successful. Many of us have goals of being worth, 3 million, 10 million dollars, et cetera. Some of you may have a goal of being worth 100 million or more, but regardless, if you have a goal of being $100 million net worth or higher, if you want to learn basketball, you could learn from a friend who's decent at basketball, or you could watch some videos from a Duke University player or a video of Michael Jordan telling you the basics of basketball. You'd probably want to listen to Michael Jordan before you listen to the friend next door when it comes down to how to shoot your free throws or how to practice your dribbling, right? Obviously. So it's not so much we're going to give you this presentation and now you're going to have the perfect roadmap to become worth $100 million or a billionaire, but more so, here's what we're learning by studying billionaires. Here's what we've learned by hosting 275 investor club events. And I'm going to be sharing many examples of how they think, what they do, what they don't do, et cetera. We're going to go through this really rapid fire to respect your time today. So feel free just to ask questions as we go, and then I'll slow down if I go over something too quickly. There's a few slides here that are a bit detailed, and we're not going to read through every bullet point because we're happy to provide you access with the slides. So you can go and read those later if those are of particular interest. And hope you enjoy the presentation. So first of all, this picture of our team. We have 20 plus people on the team. They're how we get everything done. Here's some on my home team. It's my wife, my daughters, my two younger daughters working out with me when we were in Italy last summer. I like to go on fun adventure trips. This is the West Coast Trail. We went up 30-story tall ladders up and down the ocean cliffs up in Victoria, Canada. It was awesome. This me in Everest Base Camp for my birthday last year. This is my wife and I doing rim to rim to rim the Grand Canyon. We always like to do different adventure travel trips, and we just got back from Machu Picchu last week. We took 13 doctors, dentists, and investors up there who are members of investorclub.com and have done some deals with us. We've gotten to know them for years. We took them and some of their spouses up to Machu Picchu on a 5-day trek through the mountains, which was pretty fun. This is where I'm moving to in 20 days, Kailua, which is on the island of Oahu. So if you're ever out in Honolulu, Waikiki, island of Oahu, let us know because we'll be out there real soon. All right, first slide is of content here is really about not being average. Obviously, you cannot be extremely successful if you act like everybody else. Simons, the founder of Renaissance Capital, was considered the #1 most successful hedge fund billionaire ever. He passed away just a couple of days ago. And it was interesting. He was asked once to give a talk on what his success principles are. And he said, well, I don't really have any, but I guess if I have to make a list, the #1 thing is don't follow the herd, don't do what everyone else is doing. And that's part of the message here. David Goggins was a 300-pound bug exterminator who smiled in pictures and pretended to be happy, but he wasn't happy. He saw a documentary about Navy SEALs, decided he wanted to be a Navy SEAL. They laughed at him at the recruitment office. He lost the 90 pounds needed, joined, and now has sold 5 million copies of his books and holds the world record for pull-ups in a day. I think it's 3,500 pull-ups in a day. So he really turned his life around. through being extreme in his actions in a very focused way. And I see that with my most successful clients. We hope this webinar is not average. We hope it's not boring. We hope you don't fall asleep during it. So we're going to try to keep moving really quickly through the whole thing. My brother is a member at Orange Theory. He did a 10-hour workout. He did every class that they offer in a day. And what was interesting is on the Orange Theory social media page, everybody was very upset with him. And they thought that was very unhealthy. It's dangerous, that the coaches shouldn't allow you to do that. Honestly, if you want to be really successful, you need to be pushing yourself in different ways. You need to be ultra healthy, not just thinking about being ultra wealthy. And also doing things which are positive and healthy, and doing a lot of it is the only way to have an outside success. Like Warren Buffett says, if it's pouring rain outside, you get a bucket out, you don't get a thimble. So if the opportunity is big, then you need to really go for it. Disclaimer, like you heard a couple minutes ago, didn't, before you go off and implement anything, check with your doctor, check with your lawyer, check with your tax attorney or CPA, etc. One thing we always try to do is make sure people are really verifying things while they're conducting due diligence. In our investor club, there's a lot of people who are raising capital for this, that, and the other thing. And if you're an investor and you do need to upgrade your wealth advisor, or you want help finding a medical or dental practice to invest in or something like that, we're happy to be a resource to you. But make sure you always complete full due diligence on something and not think just because you met them at a conference that they must be due diligence approved already, or just because someone else invested with them that there's not going to be risk, of course, right? I've published 13 books. I have 13.3 million social media followers. We have hosted just under 300 events, as I mentioned, and we've closed well over $500 million of transactions since we started our business. I also acquired billionaires.com 2 years ago, and I've now interviewed 40 billionaires, and I've read 85 books authored by billionaires. And we're collecting a lot of those best practices and passing them on through our investor club. We'll get to this. This slide will come up later. This is one of the most important things I could emphasize here today, and that is that the structure of your deals matters almost more than the strategy of the deal, and sometimes it does matter more. So does the structure of the deal give you real alignment? Is it an investment fund where it's a blind pool and you really have no idea what they're going to invest in next? Do you get transparency? Do you get income first? Does the manager make a lot of fees off of you before you make any money? With one platform, we identified a $6 billion asset manager. They had been in business for 15 years. They have annual financial audits, and they offer 4 investment strategies that are high income, debt, and equity. The debt is backed in first position in real estate. And it took us a year and a half to conduct due diligence on them, but we really like their structure and their income components of it. And I recorded a little video about why the $6 billion manager stood out in terms of due diligence. If you want to see that, you can go to passiveincomepartners.com. But it relates to this slide because in the wrong deal, you'll get diluted. There'll be no collateral. You won't get any income, and you're just crossing your fingers that it makes money one day. And you want to make sure that the structure is really dialed in and you negotiate a great structure, or just seek one out with the investment managers you allocate to. It's probably the most overlooked element of the newly ultra wealthy, or people who are earning, 6 figures or high 6 figures, low 7 figures, is not paying attention to the structure. They focus so much on what they're going to invest in. When they finally find somebody offering it, they kind of just accept whatever that offering is, and they don't pay enough attention to this. So don't follow what everyone else is doing. Come up with your own preferred structures. If you're putting in a good amount of money, 500,000 or more, into something, then negotiate a custom structure. If you're putting in less than that, unless the investment is a small company that you're investing in, they may not negotiate with you on terms. If it's a huge investment fund with $1 billion, they're not going to negotiate on terms, usually even for a $500,000 investment. So just keep those ideas in mind. It's been scientifically proven that if you digest a whole bunch of investment webinars on how to invest more effectively, then it's going to change your thinking, right? If you spend all of your time watching videos on YouTube on basket weaving, then you're going to have dreams about basket weaving and be better at that, right? So that's scientifically proven and not debated. But I spoke at an event yesterday, giving this exact same presentation to 180 very wealthy business owners. And what was interesting is that I asked in the room, how many people have read 20 books authored by a billionaire? 0 hands out of 180 people, but they've all read a couple hundred books during their life. So what's interesting is that they, along with every other audience I've shown this to, they're reading books from the wrong people. You're reading books from people who are good at marketing their books, or they're very eloquent writers, or they have great distribution systems for their books, or great headlines, or they're a well known author. Well, I would rather read books from people who are the winners in the game of capitalism, which are called billionaires. And what's interesting is that most of us are reading books not from the people who are best in business, but just from the people who are best at marketing their books, which is natural, right? You're a great salesman of your book, it's going to get in more people's hands, right? It might not mean you're the best person at business. And I want the inputs into my brain to be coming from the winners in the game of capitalism, not the winners in the game of marketing your book. So that's partially why we have billionaires.com. We're making it the #1 resource globally on getting mental models, business scaling strategies, investment ideas, and a look into how billionaires think. And I believe if we interview 100 billionaires and we're asking them 3 questions each, at least, we had 2 billionaires on stage at our event this year in New York. This week in New York, we did fireside chats with them. We had a centimillionaire on stage who scaled their T-Mobile stores from 0 to 150 locations and had a sale. If you learn from these types of people, it's going to change how your brain operates and it could change your financial life. We have people who on stage this week said that from joining investorclub.com, we have completely changed their financial life. One person walked out in tears because he said, and he told my brother that we've had such a huge impact on it, they don't know how to thank me. One person thanked me with a Louis Vuitton billfold that I now have to go return to the store because I don't really need a $600 billfold. But our point is we try to make a big impact. And sometimes it's in ways people don't expect. It's related to health, for example. We're strong believers that you need to invest in your health, and investing in your health will make all of your other investments go better in your life and you'll enjoy your life more. And one of our members has lost over 60 pounds just from us reminding them of that at our events. You want to learn from people like Jordan, not Duke University players, basically the main point. So for those of you following along, here are 25 billionaire books out of the 240. Most people are not going to take the time to read even 100 of the 240. So here are 25 books that all of you should have read or should put on your list to read. If you need a good gift for somebody coming up, for Father's Day coming up, or Mother's Day, if you're a little bit behind on that and your mom's in business or owns a business, one of these books would be amazing. And these were the most valuable out of the 85 books I've read so far. You can scan this QR code real quick. I'm just going to leave it up here for 2 more seconds if you want to get a list of all 100 plus books. And if you email me at richard@investorclub.com, I'll get you the list of 240 books and 11 other investor tools in a PDF that we call the Private Investor Playbook. And it's our top 11 most valuable private investor tools, all within one PDF. It's richard@investorclub.com. So there's lots of times where billionaires are interviewed on stage, especially high profile ones like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, and they admit that they make mistakes. They admit they don't do everything right, but then they add insights to it. But they're humble. They don't act like they're flawless and they do everything perfectly. Sometimes the people that do are less successful people in the room. The people that have to show off too much and beat their chest really hard, they're sometimes a lot less successful than the other people who they don't need any more attention in their life. They sometimes like to be slightly under the radar versus getting too much attention. Howard Marks is the founder of Oak Tree Capital, and he wrote a book called The Most Important Thing. And the most important point I got out of this book was that when an economy is wobbly, when an area is out of favor, then things are going to be discounted. Somebody said at the event, "Oh, why would you invest in multifamily right now? Why would you invest in an Airbnb? Why would you invest in Bitcoin 7 months ago, etc." Those are areas that have gotten beaten up a little bit. So isn't it bad to invest in an area that's been beaten up? Well, what's the alternative? Invested in something that's at an all-time high? That's actually much more scary. Then you might be overpaying or paying market. But when something's been beaten up, it might be at a discount. Maybe, in your opinion, it's not beaten up enough. Maybe, but Howard Marks says that when things get really toxic, that's when you get the deal of a decade. That's when you get the deal of a generation. So he says to watch out for that and don't listen to everyone else. Make sure and go into things when everyone else thinks that you're being not smart at all by doing that. That's when you get some of the best deals done. So similar to Richard Simon's saying, don't follow the herd. I interviewed Tony Robbins recently, along with Mark Cuban and Tim Draper and Grant Cardone and Jeff Hoffman. And Tony Robbins said that he worked harder when he had one company than he does now with 110 companies. Because when he had one company, he was in operator mode and he was running the business. Now in owner mode, he's not running any of the businesses. Another billionaire, Sam Zell, I've read his book and it's called Am I Being Too Subtle? It was on those list of books a couple of screens ago. And in that book, Sam Zell says, I want to be chairman of everything and CEO of nothing. When you're chairman of everything, you can be agile and you can move and you can redirect your energy and negotiate your next deal. If you're operating things, you don't have time to do those types of activities. I found that the highly successful are very productive. It's a picture of David Rubenstein. Been speaking to Chris, his right-hand man, doing his PR for 17 years now. And I think we're going to get him in for an interview or a fireside chat. And he says that Rubenstein is always moving. He's hyper responsive and he's like a shark in the water. He never sits still. Peter Thiel, one of the founders of PayPal, talks about extreme focus. So does Steve Jobs, and how important extreme focus is. Bezos talks about having the conviction to move forward with things when you only have 60 to 70% of the information. If you sit around trying to gather 100% of the facts, then you're never going to get anything done. He also says that many decisions are reversible. So people worry too much about something, they can just reverse the decision if they don't like it. So that's something important to remember. When it comes time to allocating capital, you should be very thorough in due diligence. You should always be double, triple checking things, asking extra questions, having other investors maybe do due diligence with you. I don't recommend moving forward when you only have 70% of the details for investing. Obviously, if you want to grow to more than 3 to 5 million net worth, you need to let your winners run sometimes and find things that are scalable, find things that can really scale, and don't sell out too early. If you do sell out too early, then you're capping your upside. There is a saying in the family office space that all of my rich friends sold too early. So there is something to be said for not getting yahooed and turning down an offer for 40 billion and selling later for 3 billion or something like that. But Mark Cuban got an offer for 150 million, and he said, "No, I'm going for the Billionaire Boys Club. I'm not going to sell for 150 million," and he made it. Arnold also, Schwarzenegger, he is famous for setting really big goals and working hard until they become true, and just aiming on that really big goal and not settling for small. One thing I've noticed about the ultra wealthy and successful is that they find their work exciting. Other people like to criticize them, the herd, the average people. They like to say, oh, that person just works all the time. They're just always working. What a workaholic. They don't understand that it's an exciting adventure. Also, related to vision, the founders of Home Depot, they plan to have 1,000 stores before they had one store. It was not an accident that today they have 1,000 stores. That was designed from the very beginning, from nothing to well over 50 billion in value. Strategic choke points is a strategy I'd encourage you to research more. This comes from Vern Harnish in a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. And it's an amazing book. He has a whole chapter on this, so I don't have time to go really deep. But a strategic choke point is like in the movie 300, where an army of 300 defends against 5,000 because the canyon wall is only 2 people thick. So they can stop those 2 people from coming through that small gap and defend that choke point very well. If you find choke points in your business or for your investment portfolio, your wealth grows faster, and you might control a small piece of turf in your industry that allows you to get distribution, capital, exposure, free PR, an information advantage, etc. So for me, it was having the #1 best-selling book in the family office industry. We've put out 13 of them. We grew and had the #1. We have the #1 podcast on family offices. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the most social media followers of any investor club. We're the largest on LinkedIn of any finance related group on the LinkedIn social media platform. And other choke points include the niche topics of our books, like a book on how to start a family office or a book of the 6 challenges every centimillionaire faces. Also a choke point would be buying billionaires.com, because now that we have it, it makes things go faster and it has people taking us more seriously. Getting the first 10 billionaire interviews done was pretty hard. Now that we have 40, they're going a little faster. One key insight I've gotten from studying the very successful is that it's not just that they have a lot of money and they're well known. And I think some people think it's that simple, like, oh yeah, of course things are easy for Elon because he's so famous now. Everyone says yes to him and he has all the money he needs. I don't see that as the case. I think that those things are mostly true, but also he knows himself very well, so he knows where to spend his time. He doesn't put up with bad employees, doesn't put up with mediocre results, doesn't put up with bad partners, and does not work on anything that he's not excited about. And so when you apply all that to yourself, even when you're not ultra wealthy, I think it makes you more successful because then every hour you spend is with good team members on a good business model, with good profit margins, with good partners, and the level of excellence that these people expect around them is very high, and they have a luxury of accepting nothing else. When you're small, it can be easier to accept other things, but they have that ultimate optionality. But I would argue that early on, making sure that everyone around you is excellent and you expect that from yourself and others would propel your level of success faster. Michael Jordan is extremely focused, very hardworking, and famous for that in sports, obviously. After they won his third championship, he showed up to practice the next morning at 5:30 in the morning. A rookie showed up at 7 a.m. and said, "Hey, Michael, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Hey, better question for you is where were you 2 hours ago?" That's extreme focus. That's hard work and grit, even when you're already on top. That's how you become Hall of Fame great at whatever you do, which may not be your goal, right? The sacrifices to do that may not be worth it. But if you want to be extremely successful, then my experience is these people work very hard, but they also work very hard at getting smart. So it's not work smart or work hard. They're working harder at getting smarter than other people, but also working harder than other people at the same time. I think we talked about that already. So cutting out toxins and anchors, this is something that Charles Munger really emphasizes. You need to get rid of energy vampires. We need to fire that employee you've been putting off getting rid of because it's going to be a little bit of a hassle to replace them, and find someone who's even better. Get rid of negative friends, news, and inputs into your life. We talked about Arnold. I encourage you to check out his book called Be Useful. It's amazing. I'm reading it to my kids right now before bed. And also his documentary called Arnold on Netflix is amazing. If you have not seen the documentary, you absolutely have to see it. In the opening line, he says that his whole life he's been able to visualize things so clearly that it almost seems real to him already in his mind. And then he just works hard until it happens. This is a trick that I use for making myself more productive. I read my monthly, quarterly, and annual goals every morning, and then I read my operating system statements. For example, I do not tolerate problems. I am demanding. What I do matters more than how hard I work. Extreme focus is a superpower. Calm is a superpower. Prioritize the non-urgent. These are things where if I know I do all these things, I'll be highly successful. Most people know what they need to do. For example, to be healthy, you need to sleep 7 to 8 hours a day, eat natural foods that aren't full of chemicals and haven't been put through a machine, and move your body around a few hours a day. But almost nobody I know does those three things and does them consistently and well. And instead, there's a $100 billion a year diet and nutrition market to make things complicated for us, right? If we just actually did the things we know we need to do, would be highly successful. You need to really defend your time if you want to be very successful and say no to almost everything. And many of you who are business owners can relate to this. Every year, it gets harder to focus. And it has nothing to do with social media growing. It has everything to do with if you're successful, you have more patients in your medical practice, or you have more clients. You have more K1s, you have more LLCs, you have more health savings accounts, or maybe different IRAs that you've opened over time. You have more grandchildren or children, potentially. You might be traveling more as you grow older. But the thing that really makes it harder to defend your time every year is that as you become more successful, you become higher up in terms of reputation in your industry, probably. And because of that, you get more and more offers coming at you, and the quality of those offers go up every year because you're saying no, no, no. But the very highest quality offers get pretty dang exciting, but you can't say yes to all of them, or your time would be dissipated. You'd be on too many boards, you'd spend too much time on things that would take you away from what would really move the needle for you. So you have to get better at saying no every year and keep on working on that over and over again. I use audio messages a lot with my team and clients. Most of the things I used to do on the phone, and I replace with audio messages. And I do those nonstop throughout the whole week and weekend. And then just on Wednesdays, I do meetings and phone calls. So you have to think to yourself, what is a goal that requires my extreme focus? What deserves my extreme focus? and then pick goals like that. Like me reading all 240 books written by billionaires, I'm at 85 now. I'd love to get to book 120 this year so I can be halfway done with the goal. But that takes extreme focus. It's really hard to read 240 books. It takes a long time, even if you're excited about the goal. One of the other themes I have and I picked up from clients is to always have the most fun year of your life. When I talked about stacking and all the advantages of billionaires having, knowing themselves, having a good team, good business partners, good profit margins, etc. Um, if those things are not in place, then business is not fun. So having the most fun year of your life, you're not going to have the most fun year if your business is doing horrible and you're working with bad employees and bad partners, right? So I think that that's something that you should think on because one, a lot of my clients don't take care of their health. They don't focus on investing and being ultra healthy. But two, they don't go on fun trips with their spouse, their kids, their best friends from high school, college, work, etc. I don't really know why. And once I talk to them about it, they're like, yeah, we should be doing more of that. We want to do more of that. I've just been putting it off for years. But also, when you apply the most fun year of your life to your business, it really means expecting excellence all around you and working with fun people. One person who manages $1 billion said on stage 2 days ago in New York, he had to fire someone because he was not joyful. And I joked because I was moderating that discussion panel. I said, well, I'm sure that didn't bring that employee too much joy short term. But he said, we just can't have this person on our team. They're just not fun, right? So aim to have the most fun year of your life and figure out how do you make your life more fun. For me, it meant quitting 2 boards where I'd have to sit on the board meetings for 3 to 4 hours. We didn't get much done and it was a waste of my time. I can spend 3 to 4 hours building my business or build somebody else's business. I cancel all meetings I don't want to take or go to. I only work on exciting exponential things and I fired stress from my team and my client list. So you can't have the most fun year of your life unless you do things like that. So for you, what are 3 or 5 things that you need to do to have the most fun year of your life? Brute force reciprocation is a strategy that's really changed my life. This is the strategy of coming up with a very specific goal, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger would recommend, but then trying 100 different combinations of actions in a way that adds value to other people first. So I've gotten many jobs in an industry where I wasn't supposed to be able to because I didn't have a decade of experience. But I told them I'll work for free until I'm worth it. And then some would just pay me a little bit and then pay me more. Some wouldn't make me work for free, some did, but it allowed me multiple times to leapfrog ahead. And with a state university degree, when I was 23 years old, I started making $100,000 a year because of this strategy. And it's because I didn't accept average. I didn't accept what everyone else was doing. And I created my own good luck by de-risking it for the other party and working for free till I showed them I could do the work because I was confident I could. So sometimes you have to pay your dues and do a lot of hard work to find success. But sometimes you don't have to pay your dues as long if you know that you can deliver and you're willing to do a lot of hard work for free. So this is my last slide. It's just that I found that learning through going to an investor event like the Quest annual event in the end of June or the event we just held in New York City, watching a whole bunch of ideas like this or reading 20 billionaire books. There's so many ideas. It's like a food buffet, right? You got to pick and choose what looks good to you right now. And the real advantage will be customizing and stacking the mental models you take in. Charles Munger is Warren Buffett's right-hand man for 40 years, and he said that all of us should operate under 100 different best practices or mental models, whether it's choke points, having the most fun year of your life, having a crystal clear advantage. It could be a whole number of different things, but stacking those up based on who you are uniquely, what you need in your investment portfolio or in your business holdings is what's really going to make a big difference. So these are the type of ideas that we like to study and learn. Through our investor club. The name of our investor club is Family Office Club. Our website is investorclub.com. And if you'd like these slides, I'm sure Quest can provide them to you. But if you have questions, I'm happy to have you submit those here through the webinar, or you can text them to me privately if you don't want everyone hearing your questions. My cell is 305-333-1155, and it's just Richard at investorclub.com if you prefer email. We have 10 in-person events per year. So you can meet other investors that are high net worth investors, small angel investors, people that put 25K to 50K into deals or 15K into some deals. And then we have some medium-sized investors and larger investors at our events. And the other thing that's been popular is our private investor playbook, which is just a free PDF of 11 different investor tools. And so we're a bit unique in that we're not here to sell an investment product. It's really an investor club, an investor community. We've had Nathan and many others from Quest, such as Kurt, come to many of our events over time. If you need a reference on whether they're worth your time coming or not, I know Kurt's had a great time, and so has Nathan speaking at our events in the past. So appreciate Quest having me on here today, and appreciate everyone's time watching the presentation.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was awesome. Very refreshing and inspiring, even. I just said to for anybody who has questions for Richard, now is a good time to post them. I feel like this presentation sparks instead of too many questions, it sparks a lot of reflection for sure. So
Right.
maybe, people, thank you for sharing your contact information and your even your cell phone number so that people, maybe they need to like take it back, think about it, and then maybe they'll have questions in the future. And if you do, by all means, go ahead and contact Richard there. I don't see any questions come in.
Sure.
But thank you. That was amazing.
Great. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having me.
for speaking there, and I hope to see you at the Quest Expo and everyone who joined us today.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.